Hello, I'm Tan the Tan BOTC channel. I want to make a short stream talking about. I watched a video recently talking about Cyberpunk, very briefly though, but I've seen a lot of this. There's been a video that was comparing Fallout 4 to Cyberpunk when I think 76 is more comparable to Cyberpunk, how their past mistakes are very comparable even. Though I do think a lot of the stuff around Bethesda was a lot stupider with Fallout 76, like the canvas bag and all that crap situation. But there's just more comparable there, and a lot of the time they don't show, even in like comparison, side-by-side comparison videos, they don't show the actual like what the other game does do well. It's always got to be the positive for Cyberpunk. I've even seen Frostbreak do this. I just don't agree. Cyberpunk's got its own problems, but it's also got similar problems to freaking Bethesda games. I never get why people, if you're going to compare, stick to the stuff that this guy here stuck to, which was Red Dead 2 and such. Cyberpunk's not a good example, so I'm going to play just a short part of this video. I hope, I don't know, I don't like doing this, but it's just a short part. But I wanted to just play this short part for you.
On the Gamebryo engine, and many limitations that
And keep in mind, I do agree with most of what he says, and the frickin' I actually wanted to make a video talking about how I'm worried for the recent Mass Effect 4 and or 5, whatever, and I don't care. And Elder Scrolls 6 because I feel like they can't. They're going to have a hard time trying to live up to later games or their previous games.
existed in
Anyways.
1997 are still present in it today. Don't believe me? If you examine the look and feel of Morrowind, it's pretty much exactly the same as Skyrim. Sure, the graphics have come a long way, characters now have voices, and everything generally feels smoother, but the core limitations of the game are still the same.
So this is also more RNG combat compared to this. This is not RNG.
Fighting an enemy, swing your weapons around in the goofiest way possible. Are you talking?
I honestly think Oblivion's the most goofy, but it's kind of hard to freaking not make that look a goofy, especially when it's a first-person perspective.
Talking to someone, slow zoom into the face while they stand there motionless or do very basic stuff.
Here
NPC
comes
scripting, people can just
all the stuff he's mentioning here, by the way, are still things that Cyberpunk has. This is stuff that Cyberpunk also has. Remember the Asmongold, the one Asmongold clip where he ran into these two talking about, I can't remember what they talking about, but they were just standing there talking about something in the market, and he was like, the video was titled like impressive NPCs. Wow, amazing, is some clickbait garbage title. And honestly, probably the only reason that was a thing, and probably most people, if they're paying attention, probably experience that, is in the game you probably cross a in-game line that activates that sequence of them talking. So it's still got scripting stuff like that. And definitely when you watch some of the other videos I'm about to just briefly talk about.
like walk around and sometimes sit down. Cool. Compare that to something
Well, first off, there's more to them just sitting down and stuff. They actually get stuff from their stores. They freaking eat the stuff. They go to bed, all that kind of crap. But once again, there's routines. I know it's older, but it's older. It's older. With Starfield, yes, that's more understandable to talk about. Now
like Cyberpunk 2077 and look at what the characters can do in there and how your character.
here's the problem. Other than like this, and I think a guy running at you with a gun, uh, also, these enemy designs look terrible. What the frick is this face? Like, what happened to the spider eye looking guys that you just kind of dropped? It's so stupid looking. But, I'm gonna talk about how just like creatively bankrupt looking freaking Cyberpunk is, honestly, in my opinion. Um, but like all of this stuff is mostly like he's showing like stuff that's cutscene stuff, scripted cutscene stuff. And it's not like that's a new thing either. Like, Why is Cyberpunk seriously being compared all the time? Cyberpunk makes no sense. Cyberpunk has that freaking dialogue system. They compared the Fallout 4 dialogue system, and yes, Fallout 4's is trash, but Cyberpunk's is nothing new. The only difference is that they color coded the goddamn dialogue blue. Dialogue options are just questions, they don't forward or progress the dialogue, and the yellow ones do. Sometimes there'll be like corpo or whatever next to it. It'll do the same thing literally as like the Fallout games and stuff in the past. But that's it. People are just going off of the love of like, hey, they are doing it kind of more similar to what Fallout used to do it, where it's like one line above the others, or what The Witcher does. And even throwing in the freaking sometimes when they have a timed comment, where you have to select one just in a certain amount of time. But there's not really that major choices, nor personally, in my opinion, do I care about most characters. I'll talk more about
Moves, and
this.
it's a world of difference. While the
No, no. It is the same goddamn thing.
creation engine isn't horrible and it can be fine for some games, it can never go up against the engines used for better games. Red
I do think that the other games he's kind of comparing do like I agree they need to change. They need to change something. They need to move on. But that's all I wanted to play of that. But definitely check that guy out. I hope you got to see the thing. Maybe I should link him. Last time I tried to do a stream and link somebody, it gave me problems doing that. But anyways, I also want to use it as an example, and we're not going to watch these, but I still think that Manly, because first off, these three YouTubers I'm about to show the videos, all their examples touch on the story and character aspects, which are still aspects within the game. They even touch on some of the, I think, beat 'em ups in particular here, touches on the freaking aspects of the actual core game and such and how it functions. That stuff is mostly still freaking there. Most like take for example this. So I think the top video on each of these pages still age well. I still think they age really well. There's a few things maybe that don't age well in them, but they still age well like today to compare to Cyberpunk, but not counting the bottom stuff because those see Actman for example has an entire video talking about the bugs, but then he's got an entire video talking more about the actual mechanics and the story and everything and the characters. And I feel like a lot of the stuff they bring up is still valid and true today with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk does a lot of the same freaking things that if you watch these videos and even stuff today of Cyberpunk, it's just like, yeah, it's still present. And my last thing, and I've made a video on this, is Cyberpunk is just so creatively boring to me. I was talking to Dave the other day about the music in Cyberpunk. It's the one thing I like from it, but then I realized, what is Cyberpunk trying to be? And he was like, well, it's supposed to be, I guess it's supposed to be like a representation of like the future. I I almost posted this message to this guy on this one part, but decided to back out on it. And you can tell at the bottom here. But is this not freaking true? Like, I'm going to say here that I find, like, take for example some of the main characters in freaking Cyberpunk, and you compare them, you look at their designs, like, take Judy, Johnny Silverhand, and, like, you could even take the main characters' depictions and, like, artwork and stuff, as well as a couple other things. But they are just creatively boring. The only thing that stands out and looks cyberpunk is this night city, but that's not from an outside perspective look on the city. On the inside, it's freaking boring and mediocre. The way the NPCs function, Hell, I even joked about how the theming of the game and its story is on the same level as Robots the freaking movie. It's not a new thing, and I remember somebody saying that it did its theming and story better than Fallout New Vegas, and it's like, frick off. It's a goddamn thing we've seen a million times. Even frickin' Robots the movie frickin' had the same theming and stuff. And that's just a goofy kids movie for crying out loud. But I use these guys as examples in the past, and I still think their videos hold up mostly. Um, and it's just like coming back to the character designs. Look at Judy. She's got a tank top, like some sort of jeans. She's got like a sweater wrapped around her base, combat boots or whatever, tattoos. That freaking same colorful, swooped on one side of your head haircut with freaking shaven on the other side that you see a ton of characters have in that game for some reason. Just colorful haircuts. Uh, and it's just like, aren't those clothes and stuff that people are wearing today? If this is supposed to be a cyberpunk interpretation of the future, why is everybody dressed like they're in a world that we live in today? Even Johnny Silverhand is just Keanu Reeves with sunglasses. He has a bulletproof vest, which nothing new, uh, whatever pants he's wearing. He's just wearing generic clothes, and the only things I can think of to really make it cyberpunk, other than the laser whip, which is borrowed from Johnny Mnemonic, and the mantis blades, which I'm sure I saw Eggman in the recent Sonic the Hedgehog movie used. No, just kidding. Uh, it's just so creatively boring. The clothing options in that game are freaking boring. Even the samurai gear, you know how games like freaking they advertise the word alone samurai in this Japanese like setting, and the only things they have in the game as samurai is that jacket that says samurai and has that picture and has the glowing collar. Ooh, a freaking jacket with LED lighting on it. That's not something people can make today. This is supposed to be the future. Even flying cars isn't really a thing, and even Manly Reviews points out that like the cars feel like cars you just see today, but with frickin' random crap thrown on them for the sake of random crap. There's a couple of decent cars, but whatever. The same thing would go with the guns and such. Like they just it has the same problem as Outer Worlds, where they just reskin or repaint the color of the freaking guns, and that's what makes it different. Or put like a clip of ammo or sight in a different spot or something. I don't know. They put something somewhere else and then say, "Hey, it's a different gun." It's just creatively boring, and the only things I have for samurai gear is like swords, and only like a couple of them, and then in like recolors, and this is the same thing for the next thing I'm about to say, the freaking helmets with no like head dressing decoration on them, by the way. They're just freaking boring helmets. Even Darth Vader is laughing at that. And the freaking lower half of an Oni mask. And once again, these just come in different colors. What the frick? You advertised Samurai. You had a freaking Rockstar Cola called Samurai Cola, and that's all you have. Even freaking Fallout 3 with a DLC had more proper samurai gear, so put some proper freaking cyberpunk samurai gear. I remember looking up pictures of people who drew samurai cyberpunk art and being like, why isn't that freaking in the game unless you freaking mod it? It's even got that freaking thing where it's like it's better with mods. It's even got that freaking excuse. It's just stupid. They still don't got flying cars. Then their priorities are in some of the stupidest places where like the things they need new added to freaking Cyberpunk is let's do this thing where you color your car on the go or design or whatever. Uh, That's or a tram system. First off, not new. Second, why would I want to ride a tram system in your boring ass world of a game? Like, frick off Cyberpunk and just the comparison videos. It makes no sense. It has the same goddamn problems as fricking uh, any Bethesda game, how other games even, and then it's got its own share of problems. It's fricking boring. And also a DLC shouldn't be what saves a game. I still think that Oblivion is good on its own. Shivering Isles is freaking amazing. People would even argue is better, but the main game is still fun, is still good for the most part. It is the weakest of the Elder Scrolls, in my opinion, but that's one example. The DLC shouldn't hold up the entirety of that game, and without the context of the DLC and stuff, you still have the crappy endings. You still have frickin' crappy characters. The only character, when I say, like, who are great characters from Cyberpunk, the only character anybody brings up is Judy, as if they can't frickin' name anybody else. I actually feel like, too, that the entirety of freaking Cyberpunk's story just sucks to me. I even feel like it hurts the whole role-playing aspect of it because the whole story revolves around Johnny Silverhand mostly than you. You both have the same motivation as one another, but it just doesn't matter. It also has the voiced protagonist, by the way. So, talking about voice protagonist in Fallout, yes, that's not something that we want from Fallout, and it is out of place because Fallout hasn't done it in the past, where Cyberpunk just started out with that. But technically, you could argue it's the same problem. uh, it's just really stupid. I find the actor more entertaining. The actors playing the main character are at least more entertaining in freaking Fallout 4. What Manly Reviews brought up, I do agree with him that the main character V, no matter the dialogue options you pick, is a freaking unlikable dickhead most of the game, and it just drags down the game for me. I just do not freaking care about the main character V. Just so freaking boring. It's creatively boring. It's like this is supposed to be cyberpunk. The most you could think of is metal hands, glowing eyes, and this ugly ass like metal lining when you freaking you like are customizing your character just going throughout the body. It looks so freaking ugly and stupid. It is freaking awful looking. Like that's the best you could come up with a cyberpunk world. Even your freaking anime was freaking better. I would like a JRPG of that. That would be a better cyberpunk universe. And then I thought when I was thinking of the music, because I was thinking like, there's great music, but like, what the frick is cyberpunk supposed to be? Is if it's not doing a good job at being like a futurist, like an interpretation of the future, then what the frick is it supposed to be? And then I'm just like, you know what? Just like with Fallout, where Fallout, I actually like a lot of Fallout's armors, like the freaking Raider sets, like the cage armor and stuff, actually look cool. Yeah, there's some silly pieces of armor, but they look better. They actually hold up, and I feel like they match the setting. What the frick is the setting of Cyberpunk if it's freaking boring ass clothing after boring ass clothing options? Even the main characters are wearing this crap. Uh, and then, as well as multiple characters wearing the same goddamn jacket with the freaking LED goddamn collar. It's just freaking mediocre to me. It's got one of the most boring settings. And I'm just thinking if Fallout is supposed to be a 40s interpret or 50s, sorry, 50s interpretation of the future, why couldn't Cyberpunk, since it has the whole Rockstar thing with Johnny Silverhand, which barely in the game anyways, uh why couldn't they just do like a futuristic interpretation of the future from like a 80s or 90s perspective of like using rock and metal? It doesn't necessarily have to be like they could still use like Japanese bands and stuff if that's what they want to do, or they could go like Kiss and AC/DC, freaking Metallica, Megadeth, that kind of stuff, Iron Maiden. Like, wouldn't that be more interesting of a freaking setting and stuff? Or at least cooler? Or at least have an identity I can freaking get on board with and be like, I know what they're trying to do here. Because the identity they have, it's got an identity crisis. It is freaking boring, in my opinion. And it's the one thing that hinders me from thinking this is at all the game people are comparing to Bethesda games and stuff. Once again, I know I seem like I'm a biased person for fricking Bethesda games. I agree that Bethesda games need to change their engine. I agree that they've made some crappy games recently. But then people just go back and crap on the freaking games like Skyrim and Fallout 4 and stuff. And yes, Fallout 4's got problems. Yes, they all have problems. No game is perfect. Even your freaking beloved Cyberpunk. No freaking game is perfect. Yet people freaking treat Cyberpunk as if it freaking is. It's not. Frick off. Shove it up your ass. Shove it up your ugly ass. I repeat, shove it up your ugly ass. But it's just ridiculous. The freaking just comparisons. It's got all the same freaking problems, um, and its own problems. It's just freaking stupid. I never got it. Skyrim is still a freaking good game. That came out a long time ago now. It's been more than 10 years now. I still think it's a great game. I've been playing it for the channel again and I just get sucked in. Hell, I would check out Up Is Not Jump's video. Hell, there's awesome YouTubers from freaking Elder Scrolls, Fallout, all that stuff. There are some great YouTubers. Camelworks, Grenolf, freaking Spiffing Brit, Juve, Doug. I can't think of a single YouTuber I like that does mostly cyberpunk content. They just freaking bore me and feel like the same typical like IGN thing where they have to show you where this is or that is, how to find this. There's only like a few guns that are unique too, or cars that really stand out in Cyberpunk too, like that gun that talks to you, the freaking cartoon bullet, and like it's like locks on or something. Kind of reminds me of the freaking Titanfall gun. But yeah, I just think it's super creatively bankrupt and just boring in its design. It's really boring to me. So it just sucks to see like these comparisons, and then it's like, no, I agree with Manly reviews. I agree with Beat 'em Ups video still, and I agree with freaking Act Man's video still. It is freaking creatively boring. Hell, even they drop stuff too. Like they have those guys with the red spidery robot eyes in that one part where they're like delivering something or making a deal with Jackie there, and they're only on screen for a couple minutes. I don't even remember seeing those freaking enemies again throughout the game. And it feels like there's established factions in the world, but you can't join these factions. You can't interact really with these factions. Like freaking Skyrim at least has like the guilds and stuff, and they have the lore and stuff. And I'm not saying Cyberpunk doesn't have this stuff, but why can't you at least interact with them? Instead, you got this scripted stuff that you're mostly doing because you and and mostly because Johnny Silverhand wants you to do this stuff. Like, I think the only thing, or only couple of things, is the romances, which some of those characters you meet anyways through Johnny Silverhand, at least some of them, not Judy and such, but and that one scene where you go to kind of a funeral ceremony for Jackie. Like, there's only a couple of things that is personally for the main character. It feels like Johnny Silverhand just steals the freaking game from you, and it doesn't feel like your story. It feels like it's his. And I just freaking find that boring. I kind of wish either he was the main character or that like they do something else, kind of like what I just talked about previously. I'm sick of this crap. It's creatively boring in my eyes. I just don't care. And once again, I know this is just my opinion. I hope you don't take it too harshly, even though I sound very harsh about it. Yeah, I'm freaking annoyed by this stuff. It's just as annoying as back in the day. Every time an update for Cyberpunk came out, the fans would be like, "It's better now. It's better now." That got freaking old quick. That got really old quick. And yes, she's hot. Right on the left side. But I don't care about her character. I don't know anything about her character. It once again speaks volumes of the freaking game to me. Just like Night City, she's hot on the outside, but I don't know a damn thing about her. Nor do I care. Just like Night City, it's a freaking awesome looking city, and it actually is the one thing that truly looks cyberpunk in that world. Yet I don't care because everything on the inside of that goddamn city is boring. I feel like, too, another thing is when it comes to your main apartment building area, the first one you start out with, is where they actually tried making things feel mostly like they have a lot of stuff going on. But once you get outside of that building, it's like, yeah, the same typical Bethesda bullcrap that you would see in that game. Yet this is CD Projekt Red. Also, why is CD Projekt Red held up as one of the best game developers? They only made technically one, if not two, games that people recognize and know them for. And it's like, Obsidian, Bethesda, freaking BioWare have multiple more games that they're known for. Why is Cyberpunk held to the same? I would even agree with like Larian Studios because they technically only did like Divinity and Baldur's Gate 3, but technically like here's the other thing is when The Witcher became popular, just like with Dark Souls 3, Witcher 3 was where people started to recognize truly and grow its fan base how awesome the series is. But I don't think people went back and played the first two Witcher games like they did when they went back and played the first two Dark Souls games. You see more people on the internet replaying the Dark Souls games and such, but not really the Witcher games. I've done the first Witcher game on the channel and such, and I'm not saying there aren't people out there, but there's clearly not many people who give a crap about the first two as much. Even From Software have more games. They have more games under their belt that tells you they're an RPG company too. That's more known for multiple RPGs than just the one or two. And Cyberpunk didn't even do good. A matter of fact, most of the time Cyberpunk has existed, it was hated, compared to most of the time it was loved. Because when it first came out, it was a buggy mess, and it remained mostly a buggy, disastrous mess for at least 3 years or so. It wasn't until like a year or two that it's like people are trying to recognize it as a good, great game, which I don't agree with for previously mentioned reasons. Just no, it's freaking got the same problems, just everything I previously just mentioned. I freaking hate repeating myself. I'm sick of this crap. I am planning on replaying Cyberpunk for the channel. I don't know when that's going to happen. I've talked about it multiple times, but yeah, I don't know when that's going to happen. And it's going to be a last chance video. It's also going to be me deconstructing stuff as I play along. It's kind of going to be similar maybe to my Evil Within when I did my Evil Within series. But yeah, this game, I'm kind of sick of people like comparing it. It's got the same freaking issues. What the frick are people comparing? And when you compare it like that guy was using, it was mostly of scripted freaking cinematic moments. Freaking any Naughty Dog game has moments like that. The only difference is they don't have the supposed color-coded dialogue options in between that stuff. Anyways, I'm done. I'm going to play a Bethesda game after this stream just to add more to the fire. But yeah, frick off Cyberpunk, I guess. Look, if you do like Cyberpunk, that is totally fine. Like with anything that you like. But to me, none of this made sense ever. It never made sense. I feel like people are missing something, and I'm going to add to that what I feel they're missing, no matter what. It's just freaking ridiculous. There's something missing from the argument. I find it freaking creatively boring, and that's not even the only thing. That's just the most big thing I can think of with it that makes me just be like, no, Deus Ex is a better Cyberpunk game. Anyways, if you did find something interesting or you enjoyed, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your comments below if you did. And I will see you next time. Also, remember if you have opinions about something, share your opinions without being a rude asshole over it too. Because never take an opinion seriously. I had a guy that was being absolutely rude, and then he was advocating for why he deserves to be rude. He was like, "Oh, it's a normal thing on the internet." Just because it's normal doesn't mean that it's right or should exist, though. There's a reason people don't like bullying and crap. It's a negative that shouldn't fricking exist. It exists sadly, and there's not much we can do about it other than block that person or whatever. But yeah, it just shouldn't exist. And when you try to use your opinion as a platform to also be rude like that at the same time, and I know I probably said a couple of words here, but I'm not trying to be that way. But when you're using your opinion that way, in that sense, to attack somebody at the same time and bully, it just can't be taken seriously ever. And I don't think I did that part. I wasn't trying to bully or anything, in my opinion. But when you're using your opinion in that way, it can't be taken seriously, and it's just not worth it at all. And arguing for something like that, first off, here's an example. Uh, Murder exists, but is that a good thing? No, frick no. And I mean, if you're talking to the wrong person who's too sensitive, words can technically kill. So you gotta be careful with what you say too. It's just like, what the frick? No, do not advocate for why you deserve to be mean. That makes no freaking sense, and you are totally in the freaking wrong there. If you're trying to defend being rude, then it's not worth it. It's not worth talking to you. It's not even worth giving you a freaking shred of a moment of interaction. That's all I gotta leave off with. I hope so. I'll end with what freaking critical Moist Critical says.